Golf Club is the first unrivaled champion.
Angel Reese just pulled off an impressive win, taking home the championship trophy. But let's be honest, the competition wasn't exactly fierce. As she celebrated her victory, WNBA viewership numbers continued to struggle. You have to wonder, was anyone really watching the game? Some fans are calling her the future of women's basketball, but the truth is, the league is still working hard to gain solid ground. How can Angel Reese dominate on the court and still not make the impact that really matters? On a personal note, things are looking up for her. "Hey sis, I'm doing great. Just won $50,000 on a flight," she says. You probably know this already, but I'm still on a rookie contract, and that $50,000 is more than half of what I make for the whole season. Gotta keep it on the down low for now. Let me know if you want to adjust the tone or add anything.
Unrivaled ratings video. The playoffs are finished. The championship game has concluded. The numbers are in. After debuting with 313,000 viewers, Games 1, Games 2, on opening night, after having ratings for the 1v1 tournament, semifinals, and final, averaging 377,000 viewers, the unrivaled championship game ratings comes in at a staggering 260,000 views.
Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky just made history by winning the first ever unrivaled championship. It's a big milestone and definitely something to be proud of. But if we're being honest, this moment feels a little overhyped, kind of like getting a participation trophy or showing up to work on time. With all the excitement, you'd think summer had just solved one of the world's biggest problems, not one in a league that, right now, feels about as competitive as a casual 3-on-3 at the park. Still, this is Angel Reese we're talking about, the self-declared queen of dominance. So sure, let's give credit where it's due. Just maybe keep in mind how much this really means in the bigger picture. Let me know if you'd like to tweak the tone or make it sharper.
The Rose just made history and just became 50K richer, you feel me? Because they just won the Unrivaled League first ever championship, man. I ain't gonna hold y'all. If y'all missed this Unrivaled season, yo, you missed one hell of a good one and a competitive one. And shout out to Chelsea Gray, yo, for winning the Finals MVP.
In a world where awards seem to be handed out like freebies, here comes Angel Reese taking home the Defensive Player of the Year title. Defensive dominance? Well, some might say it looks more like a lot of dramatic arm-waving and fierce expressions after grabbing routine rebounds, but hey, don't question it, the numbers say she's a defensive star. And we all know stats never tell the wrong story, right? Especially when there's a full-on PR machine working overtime to paint her as the next Dennis Rodman. Of course, this recognition is totally organic, driven purely by skill and heart. It's almost like the universe made sure everyone gets a trophy these days. And Angel Reese? She's living proof of that.
Today, as we stand, one Angel Reese has been named the Defensive Player of the Year. Stab us all right in the eye hole, right? Oh my goodness. Oh, her fans, they're trying to take victory laps today over this, except a lot of people, a lot of hoops fans, real basketball fans are calling this for what it is. It's a sham. I mean, let's be honest, right?
Let's talk about this so-called unrivaled league. It's unrivaled only because there's barely anyone else playing. What's the big flex here? Being the standout in a tournament where half the top names didn't even bother to show up. It's like walking into an empty gym, making a layup, and calling yourself the MVP, but when you're building a brand, I guess you take whatever wins you can get. And here we are, hyping up a championship that feels about as earned as a Hollywood nepotism baby landing their first role. It's a show dressed up as a serious accomplishment, light on real competition, and missing the credibility that makes a title truly matter.
All season long. But I want every person in here, from the players to the coaches, to the fans, to the media, to really take a second to soak in this moment. This is history.
And then there's the Defensive Player of the Year award. Supposedly a sign of grit and determination. Or maybe it's just a lot of constant swiping at the ball and shooting intense glares at opponents, like they owe her money, but don't even think about suggesting there might have been more deserving candidates. The moment you do, you're labeled a hater, or worse, accused of not respecting women's basketball at all. These days, simply questioning someone's greatness feels like crossing a line you're not allowed to cross.
They lost to Lunar House comfortably. Beat the Laces in a close one. They went and they lost to the Mist. The Mist were trying towards the end. They beat the Phantom. In a lot of close games, they played really well. And they played really, really well after the break.
Let's take a moment to appreciate the real skill on display here, turning everyday basketball plays into headline news. The drive to build a legend in real time is impressive, no doubt. Every block, every rebound, every show of strength gets picked apart, hyped up, and turned into a career-defining moment. Meanwhile, the true all-time greats quietly handle their business. No need for a media circus every time they lace up their sneakers. But get ready, because the next round of over-the-top celebrations is probably right around the corner. A parade? A statue? Maybe they'll rename Chicago while they're at it. Why not? The way this hype train is moving, it wouldn't be shocking if someone called her the greatest athlete ever. At this point, if we're giving out awards just for showing up, maybe it's time to make it official. Somebody call the Hall of Fame. We're all living in Angel Reese's world now, whether we signed up for the ride or not.
Honestly, man, I don't know how they even decided the Defensive Player of the Year, because I had a few players that I had in mind that could have won this award. But to say that Angel Reese wasn't playing good defense and didn't deserve this award, that would be a lie, man. Because throughout the season, she had moments where not only did she lock up the best bigs or play great defense on the best big, she also stole the ball from some of the best.
Angel Reese's wrist apparently had enough and forced her to sit out, right as the team was closing out a win without her. You can't make this stuff up. While she took time off to rest the same wrist she'd already had surgery on, Rose BC went out and claimed the championship like it was no big deal. No drama, no theatrics, just solid, straightforward basketball. Let's be real, if Angel had been out there, it probably would have turned into another episode of the Angel Reese Show, where the game itself gets lost behind over-the-top reactions and some questionable shot choices. But without her, the team stepped up. They passed, defended, and finished the job, while their superstar watched from the sidelines in street clothes, maybe brainstorming her next round of inspirational, but mostly unnecessary, social media posts. No doubt she'll be back soon, probably with a fresh injury update or maybe a new theory about how the universe is out to get her. In the meantime, her team keeps proving they can get it done without her. Tough break, literally.
That's got to be the first thing. And by the way, we're doing victory laps today. Angel Reese fans are celebrating a championship that she didn't even take part in the playoffs for. Are you serious right now? I would argue the team got better and won it because she didn't play. This should be frightening to Chicago Sky fans.
The ratings are in, and the unrivaled league is struggling, about as exciting as a soggy bowl of cereal. Fans are nowhere to be found, and viewership has all but disappeared. Yet there's Angel Reese, talking like she's the main event, as if she just won MVP, for social media, not basketball. Instead of focusing on improving her game, she seems more invested in turning every match into her own personal soap opera. It's impressive, in a way, how she puts in minimal effort on the court but manages to stay front and center off it. Meanwhile, the league is scrambling to draw an audience, throwing out promotions like free samples at the grocery store. And still, the interest is lukewarm at best. Somehow, she's managed to be the loudest voice while everything around her seems to be falling apart. You can already guess what's next: excuses. Maybe it'll be the ref's fault. Maybe the haters. Or maybe, just maybe, people are starting to realize that making noise isn't the same as being great. The gap between her constant self-promotion and the league's harsh reality is hard to ignore. And it raises a serious question: where should the real focus be?
Here's the caveat, folks. TNT, they come out with their own graphic. And their own graphic boasts of a 364,000 average viewer for the finals. 385,000 peak viewership for the unrivaled finals. We'll touch on those other numbers later. But up 99% from the regular season, 364,000 average. Folks, if we look at the unrivaled playoffs, Laces versus Rose, that was broken down to both TNT ratings and True TV ratings. Yet for the championship game, somewhere in transition, somewhere along the pecking order, I guess the True TV ratings got lost.
What a time to be alive. The unrivaled league just wrapped up and, shockingly, nobody was watching. Turns out, slapping a flashy name on something and calling it a game changer doesn't magically make people care. Who would have thought? Ratings tanked, excitement fizzled out, and somewhere in a boardroom, a bunch of execs are scratching their heads. wondering how their groundbreaking league flopped harder than a bad reality show. But no worries, while the league struggles to hold on to even a handful of viewers, Angel Reese is still front and center, acting like she just won a title through pure talk alone. This is the same Angel Reese who didn't even come close to the MVP conversation, yet somehow always finds her way into the spotlight when there's drama to stir up. Instead of taking a step back, rethinking her approach, or even just catching her breath, she's online making sure everyone knows she's still the headline. Meanwhile, the actual game fades into the background. It's a strange scene, one player's voice drowning out the silence of an entire league's collapse.
Folks, it's over. Or it's close to it. If it's not over, it's close to it. I'm at that point where I think we are at a point of no return. I think we have hit a level where there are problems and they are starting to punch you right in the face. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the unrivaled television ratings from Friday night, their best night, and they are bad. They just keep getting worse.
The funniest part? It's not like Angel Reese was dominating on the court to justify all this extra attention. There weren't any record-breaking performances or jaw-dropping plays, just a whole lot of vibes. Her presence seems to be marked more by the occasional tweet that gets ESPN analysts buzzing, as if they'd rather talk about the drama surrounding her than admit the league is playing to mostly empty seats. And honestly, it's kind of impressive. The league desperately needed someone to spark interest, engage fans, and sell the product. Instead, we got a masterclass in staying relevant for everything but basketball. Is this performance art? A social experiment? Maybe it's the new age marketing strategy, where the goal isn't actual success on the court, but making as much noise as possible and creating the illusion of winning. Loudly. Unapologetically.
They wonder why no one is supporting their secondary dump. They wonder why no one is watching pretend basketball. Maybe if they focused on the actual basketball instead of focusing on their weird utopian fantasies, maybe their dump would be upgraded to a polished.
Meanwhile, the ratings tell the real story. When it was time for fans to tune in, they didn't. When the moment came to capture an audience, most people tuned out instead. And rather than taking a hard look at why, certain players, one in particular, are busy showing off online, acting like their influence somehow outweighs the game itself, when viewership drops, when interest fades, and when the league starts scrambling to stay afloat, no amount of tweets or flashy posts will change the fact that hype only goes so far. And here we are. The league is struggling, ratings have hit rock bottom, and instead of leadership or accountability, we're met with constant self-promotion, cryptic social media posts, and reminders from someone convinced they're the main character in a story no one's watching. Maybe it's time for a new strategy. Focus on the basketball, not the drama. Real skill might actually bring the fans back. And who knows? If more energy went into winning instead of chasing attention, they might not have to beg people to care.
Most people who know Caitlin Clark, we're just being honest, probably are not WNBA fans, but they know of her because of her greatness and the way that she just burst onto the scene and made such a powerful impact. And this goes for all over the world. I mean, her name truly has transcended the WNBA. And while I hate to keep bringing up the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark drama, because it would be nice to just put that to bed, it must be noted that Angel Reese is playing for Unrivaled. Caitlin Clark is not. The numbers are not great.
Let's be honest, plenty of people who know Caitlin Clark probably aren't even WNBA fans. But they know her because of her undeniable talent and the way she burst onto the scene, making a massive impact. Her name has gone far beyond the WNBA, she's become a global figure in sports, and while I hate to keep bringing up the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark conversation, because it really would be nice to move on, there's an important point to make. Angel Reese is playing in Unrivaled. Caitlin Clark isn't. And the numbers? They're not looking great. Here we go again. The internet's in chaos because someone won an award, and suddenly people are making comparisons between Angel and Caitlin, as if a single trophy puts them on equal footing. Let's think about that. The logic seems to be, Angel won something, so now she must be on Caitlin's level. That's a stretch, sure, if we ignore stats, shooting percentages, basketball IQ, impact on the game, and, reality. It's like saying winning karaoke night makes you the next Beyoncé. Just because something happens doesn't mean it carries the same weight. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is out there rewriting the record books. She's scoring more points in a game than some teams do, hitting shots from half court like it's nothing, and turning the WNBA into must-see TV. Angel? She's out there grabbing rebounds and throwing side-eyes. Respect the hustle, but hustle isn't the same as skill. Spoiler, points win games, not facial expressions or questionable shot selections. Every time Angel gets an award, her fans act like she's knocked Caitlin off her throne. But if we're being real, why does the basketball world stop when Caitlin plays? Angel's biggest headlines often come from her tweets, not her box scores. Caitlin is making history. Angel is trending on social media. Point one is changing the game, the other seems more focused on her online presence. It's important to recognize the difference between raw talent that shifts the entire sport and trophies that don't tell the full story.
Man, Indiana Fever will be opening up against the Chicago Sky. And for those that don't think that the Caitlin Clark and the Angel Reese, remember what the commissioner of the league said. There needs to be some type of back and forth. Why do you think they have Chicago first? One of the worst teams in the league. You have Chicago playing Indiana first.